Hi, in this video we're going to be showing you how to assemble this dresser, but before we get started, here's a few things to keep in mind. Make sure you have a Phillips head screwdriver and optionally a hammer. Be sure to set aside enough time for assembly, and just make sure all the pieces are facing the right way as you're putting it together, and you'll do great. We are going to focus on the trickier parts and go quickly through the easier steps, so make sure you pause the video and complete all the steps as we go. With that said, let's get into it. In step 1, we'll be putting dowels into pieces 2, 3, 5, 8, 11, 12, 18, 19, 21, and 26. Yes. Okay, and we're good to move on. In step 2, we'll be putting cam bolts into pieces 1, 2, 3, 13, 16, and 20. Okay, we're good to move on. In step 3, we'll be inserting these plastic pieces into pieces 2 and 3. With this, you want to make sure that this open side is facing in towards the piece, and this screw side is facing out. So we'll press this in. So it should look just like this. Next, in step 4, we'll be attaching the rails R and 3 of these wood blocks onto piece 3. We'll put down the wood blocks first. You want to make sure that these 2 holes are facing towards the edge without this rail. And we'll line those up with the holes. And then we'll be putting the rails on top, and you also want to make sure that this wheel is facing towards the side that doesn't have this groove as well. We'll line that up with the holes, and then we can put in 3 bolts. And we'll repeat this process for the other 2 sliders. Next, we'll put in a screw into this front circular hole on each of the rails. And this should line up with the holes on the wood block, so it should be easy to find. Okay, then we can move on to step 5, and we'll do the same thing again. We'll lay down these wood blocks so that the 2 holes are facing towards the side without the groove. And this time we'll be using rails S. These are the ones with the L on it, making sure that the wheel is also facing away from the groove. And then we can put in our bolts to hold that in place. Next, we'll put in a screw into the front hole of each slider. Okay, we're good to move on. In step 6 and 7, we'll be attaching rails to piece 8. So we'll start with the piece up so that these holes are facing upwards. And we'll take rails R, once again the ones with the R on them. And we'll lay these so that the wheels are on the same side as this dowel here. And when you're attaching the sliders on both sides, you want to make sure that they go completely flush onto this edge and go into the very last hole on the slider. Next, we'll put a screw into each rail into the circular hole right underneath the wheel. Then we can flip this piece over. And we'll be attaching the rails S onto the other side, which are the ones with the L on them. And once again, we'll put the wheels on the same side as this dowel. So they'll attach just like this. We'll put 3 more bolts into each rail. And then once again, we'll make sure to put a screw into that front circular hole. Once those are all attached, then we're good to move on. In step 8, we'll take our middle leg, which is the one with the hole on each side, and we'll stand it so that this larger hole is facing up. And we'll press this insert into it. Once that's completely flush, then we'll screw in this leveling foot into the bottom. You'll want to screw it in all the way, and then you can adjust it later if needed. And then for step 9, we'll take piece 4 and we'll stand it up so that these indented edges are facing towards you. And we'll take our middle foot and line it up with this center hole here and insert a bolt. We'll tighten that until it's flush, making sure that the leg sits straight. And then we can move on to step 10. We'll be applying the felt pads to the bottom of each of these legs. So we'll remove the backing and stick this into the center of the bottom of each leg. Once those are on, we can move on to step 11. We'll stand piece 4 up again. And we'll insert each leg so that the dowel goes into the closed off hole and line up the other one so that we can put the bolt through. And then we'll screw those in all the way. Once those are all attached, then we can move on to step 12. So we'll flip this around. And you want to make sure that this angled edge is facing up. And then we'll take piece 2 and we'll line it up so that these rails are facing upwards. And then we'll push in those dowels. And we can put in 3 screws from the bottom. Once that's attached, then we'll take piece 8. We'll stand it up so that these rails are also facing up and these cam lock holes are facing towards piece 2. We'll line up the dowels. And we'll put in 2 screws through the back. Next, in step 14, we'll take piece 5 and we'll attach this to the top so that these cam lock holes are facing down. We'll line this up with the dowel on piece 8 and the cam bolt on piece 2. And then we'll put in a cam lock through the bottom on this side. And then in step 15, we'll take piece 3. Once again, making sure that those rails are facing up. And we'll line up the dowels onto the bottom piece. We'll line this up with the cam bolt and dowel on piece 5 as well. We'll insert a cam lock into this crossbeam. And 3 screws in through the bottom. Okay, and then we're good to move on. In step 16, we'll be inserting the back panels into our piece. So we'll start with this thicker one. And we'll insert it so that the screw holes are facing towards the back. We'll slide this down into the grooves. And then we'll insert the smaller one, making sure that the sticker is facing towards the back and is in the top corner. We'll make sure this also slides into the bottom panel as well. And then we'll take our top piece, making sure that the groove lines up with the panels on the back. We'll line up the dowels and cam bolts as well. Once we have the top on, then we can move on to step 17 and we'll put screws into the back bottom panel. Once that's on, then we can move on to step 18 and we'll be screwing in the top piece. We'll put 3 screws into the top on each side. And then next we'll put in 3 cam locks into the middle. Okay, and then we're good to move on. In steps 19 through 25, we'll be putting together our drawers. All of the drawers are built the same, so we're going to show you that. Just make sure that you pay special attention to which pieces go together so that you have them all correct. Let's start with one of our front pieces. And we'll take its 2 correct sides and line it up so that these grooves line up along the inside. And then we'll put in 2 cam locks on the outside of each side. Next, we'll take one of our bottom panels and slide that in along the grooves. And then we'll take the correlating back piece and line that up along the groove and put in 2 screws from the outside. We'll put 2 more screws on the other side. Then we'll sit the drawer down and line up the handle, making sure that it overhangs on the front side. And we'll put in 2 screws from the back. And then we'll flip it so our drawer is upside down. We'll take one of each of our remaining sliders. We'll set these on the drawer so that this overhang goes on the side like this. And you want the wheel to be facing towards the back. And then we'll put 2 bolts in from the outside. All right, then we can flip our drawer back over, and this one is all done. And then to insert our drawers, you just want to stick the wheel over the wheel on the inside of the piece and down into the rail. And then it should just slide in. And then we'll repeat the process for the rest of our drawers. Okay, we're all done. We hope this video was helpful in building your new dresser. For more guides, tips, and tricks, head on over to walkeredison.com.